Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today, I am looking at Marvel Comics Presents number 100. This is a fun book I run across quite often when I'm digging, and I finally decided to grab it. And I do grab a lot of the Marvel Comics Presents, especially when they have Sam Kieth covers or art. I don't know why I've been putting this off because, well, first of all, it's got this pretty awesome cover, and like most Marvel Comics Presents, it does have a flip cover, but in this one, he's just playing on the angle of who's, well, I guess Ghost Rider's on top, but before Wolverine was holding it up, smashing Ghost Rider against the title, and in this one, he's smashing Wolverine, which is pretty cool little play on the flip cover motif. What I guess I didn't realize is that, one, this had a Doctor Doom story in it. So that'd be like, oh, why don't I get it for the Doctor Doom story? But then what I really didn't realize is that unlike most Marvel Comics Presents, this is an entire book-length issue. And it is illustrated by Sam Kieth, the whole thing. Howard Mackie is the writer, and he was the regular writer on Ghost Rider at this time, so makes sense that he would be doing a Ghost Rider story. But the real draw for me is Sam Kieth doing Doctor Doom, because I can't think of another time that he's done Doctor Doom. So I'm just going to jump right in and kind of get going with what happens in this storyline. So Doctor Doom is sleeping in bed in full armor. Okay, let's stop and pause at that. He is in full armor with covers on. And he's not even in like a, emperor-sized bed or anything. He's just in like a twin bed with his armor on and covers pulled up over him. So that's what the premise of this is, though, is that he's having nightmares, right? And we're going to hit the nightmare character. Sam Kieth gets to revisit the nightmare character in this very series, but a little later on, he has a Wolverine Venom story that features Nightmare. There's a small piece of irony, I think, in that Sam Kieth was the first artist on the Sandman book with Neil Gaiman, if you don't know what that is. And now he's getting to play with the Nightmare character, which is really like a cartoonish version of Morpheus. So Doom is having a nightmare. He's being confronted by Nightmare. And in this conversation, he points out that he's always been there for Victor, but he always has a hard time getting Victor to succumb to a, scary part of a nightmare because his will is too strong. And let's pause again to look at this Doctor Doom and the drapery of the hood on his cloak and everything. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Weird body position on this. Looks almost like a big horse, but it almost is small like a pony. Look at that. I think he would dip into that look for when he does some Joker stuff later on. And the way Nightmare rides this horse, the way he sits on it and stuff, it cracks me up. So he's basically telling Doom oh, you're in my realm, you can't really hurt me. He's almost having a laugh about it, but he's also I do always have to dig a little deeper to try to really scare you. What scares you? And he's able to conjure up an image of the Fantastic Four. And he's yeah, that kind of gets you, that kind of frightens you, but they're not really scary. And again, let's pause to look at Sam Kieth's FF. Now, I've seen him do The Thing. He did a cover to a Thing reprint miniseries that's pretty awesome, but I've never seen him do any of the other characters. And of course, he gives Sue that cake he likes to do. But then Doom is just no more, and he forces himself to wake up, and that's just an awesome shot right there. It's almost like he's being sucked into the pillow or something. Look at that. Just the mask. Pretty awesome. And so Doom wakes up, his bed looks a little bit more Emperor-like there, but it still just cracks me up that he's wearing full armor, cape and hood and everything to sleep. I've never seen that before. I can't really think of another time we've seen Doom sleeping, but we have seen him kind of not in full armor, kind of lounging before, but he'll always have the mask handy, ready to put it on when somebody comes in the room. So he goes down the hall to discuss with somebody who's supposed to be helping him with this problem he's having with nightmares. And he's got a little French maid here, and he basically tells her she needs to wear something different. It displeases me. It does not please me. Yes, my lord. Yes, Lord. And that's the end of that. I think he just stuck that in there just because Sam Kieth wanted to draw a little French maid. So he goes and sees this doctor guy who looks like he's something from a Beetle Bailey Sunday strip. And he's confronting him saying, like, you're supposed to be helping me with these nightmares or this intrusion into my dreams. And he's like, your emergency device to wake me up did work, but now I'm going to bring in some of the monks that I trained with in the dark sorcery, and they're going to assist you, and then we'll decide what to do with you later. And the guy's almost begging Doom to kill him and end it. He's like, you're right, Lord Doom. It's not working. You should just end it. You should just kill me now. So I think he's just overworking for Doom. Another cool profile with the awesome looking drapery hanging off. Cut to Ghost Rider. He doesn't really want to mess with Dan Ketch too much, so he just jumps right in. Look at the melting flesh off of the face right there, off the skull. And he turns into Ghost Rider, but then he turns right back into Dan Ketch. It like emerges out of his chest, and it's like then Ghost Rider comes out of his chest and back and forth. And Ghost Rider's like freaking out, like, what is going on? Why are we out of control? Changing back and forth. Whose nightmare is it anyway? I guess that's the name of is that the name of the story? Did they put that in here? That may be the name of the whole thing. Oh no. Each chapter. So like a typical Marvel Comics Presents, they do bust it into chapters, but it's all one continuous story. Dr. Doom confronts Ghost Rider and pretty much says he needs his help. Another awesome skull there. Close up on the eyes. I should point out, this is like a little heavier, nicer print paper for a Marvel Comics Presents too. Either Marvel was switching up about this time or they put a little something extra into this 100th issue. Dan Ketch comes back out and questions that it's a dream. He's like, if it's a dream, where's the dragons and stuff? Well, this dragon emerges and it's Nightmare riding a dragon. So they're going to have a confrontation with Nightmare again. Every time Nightmare comes on, Sam Kieth takes advantage to really do something just crazy with that face. It kind of shocks Nightmare that Doom has been able to pull Ghost Rider in to assist him for a minute, so he retreats. And they're like, we need a little bit more help. So who are they going to call in? Why, Wolverine, of course, the top-selling character of the time. This is cool. This reminds me of the cover to the Max #1, this position right here. And Sam Kieth had done a full Wolverine story. It wasn't full issues, but in Marvel Comics Presents Blood Hungry, which had the villain Cyber in it. And it's an okay story. Peter David wrote it. But really, it's all about the Wolverine Sam Kieth art. Look at this city street he gets like sucked into here. It's like Paris, France. So he knows it's a dream. And he's like, the funny thing about dreams is you can cut into the fabric of reality. He's like, Paris, nice, but why? Ghost Rider pulls him in and they just have a chat about how Doom has brought them both in to take on Nightmare here. Nightmare shows up, and I mean, this is a pretty fast read and pretty straightforward, actually. The plot can just be summarized in Nightmare is bothering Doom. Not tormenting him, just bothering him, annoying him. So Doom decides to recruit Ghost Rider and Wolverine to help him just run off Nightmare for the time being. That face. And then we just get some weirdness. Wolverine gets to cut down these like cartoonish looking dream Paris civilians because they're just in the way, and there's Nightmare just kind of watching and giggling about it all. Shh. So Wolverine decides this is how we're going to end this. He must have done this once before. I don't know if this came out during that X-Men Ghost Rider crossover before or around then or whatever, but he knew this was going to hurt if he did this. So he just straight up stabs Ghost Rider. And something happens. There's like a reaction between the adamantium and the like hellfire or whatever it is that Ghost Rider's made up with. And it sets off Nightmare pretty bad. What have you done? Now look at his face. Now he's pretty menacing. Before he was just looking like, crazy, clownish, scary, but now he's like monstrous. So there's some psychic feedback. Somehow, I guess Doom had somehow had them brought in and hooked up to machines, or at least had them hooked up to machines somehow. Whether they were all in the same place, I don't think so, because here's Doom by himself. He at least pulled the cowl off. Looks kind of like Kristoff there. And one of the monks is tied in, supposedly helping do this, and the psychic feedback ends up killing him. Ghost Rider wakes up with his VR headset. Wolverine wakes up. These pages seem a little lazy. I hate to say that, but it's almost like the deadline caught up in these last few pages. Starting with this page, I feel like maybe the deadline was catching up. Because they seem kind of plain. You're going to get like a big silhouette just to save time. That's not his best. Look at those hands. That's not his best work by any stretch. Yeah, so they just wake up and they're in independent places. Doom wakes up, and even this, the detail is gone. So by the end of the story, you can tell he'd run out of gas or something. And there the monk is dead. And now we do get a pretty good Nightmare to finish it all off. This is a pretty typical Sam Kieth layout. So I say that about running out of gas. Tim Vigil does art assists in this. He's credited right there. Tim Vigil did the Outlaw Comics Faust. I'm not a Faust expert. I've looked at them. I don't have any or anything, but I looked at them, especially when I was a kid, and the art was always like pretty impressive, but the story to me, at least back when I looked at it, I didn't want any part of it. There's a good chance he kind of helped with these last pages. Maybe that's where Sam Kieth was running out of gas. And Tim Vigil's better, but if he was just like in the studio kind of helping, it's a good chance he was probably just like finishing up these, I bet he had roughs and he was just filling in the blacks and stuff for him. I don't know. That would be something interesting to find out. If anybody has an interview or any information on that, I'd like to hear it. Pretty cool pin up there. Well, that's pretty much it. This is a self-contained issue. It doesn't, because I have the issues after this. After this, we get a Wolverine story with Nightcrawler by Gene Colan, but we're still getting Sam Kieth covers. So no, this doesn't carry over, at least for now. Nightmare does come back for a Wolverine story, but not until like the 120s. So, it's a self-contained story. If you see this in a box, and I run across this all the time, grab it, because most of it is like really solid Sam Kieth goodness. Just those last few pages seem a little rushed. That's all I got. Until next time, read your comics.